McDonald. Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. Well, I've got some major updates on stories that we've been covering, some recaps of your favorite shows and what's juicy about them. And then I've got a great interview with a woman named Gigi who has been exposing the biggest social influencers and their inauthentic and actual shady ways. And it's very fascinating and very juicy. So first, let's get into some very sad news. We have been following this case. Peter and I did a Juicy Crimes on my Patreon. You go to heathermcdonald.net, click on Patreon, how to join. I did a very in-depth episode about the missing Gabby Petito. This is all anyone is talking about. It's so sad. She's 22. According to all the news sources, there was a body matching her description that was found last night in the Tetons, which is the last place she said she was when she last spoke to her mother via FaceTime, which I think was the last time that anyone really saw her, not just getting a text or message, was August 25th. Quick summary of this story, if you're not familiar. There's a young couple. They're both 22. They at one time were engaged, but then decided they were too young, but still in love. And they renovated a van, and they were traveling all this summer, going to different parts of Utah and parks and being that cute, like van life, #van life couple. And he came home on September 1st without her, but with her van. And the parents were unaware of that, the parents of Gabby. And finally, after texting their daughter, not hearing from her, texting Brian and not hearing back from him or Brian's parents, they then realized that he had been home without her and filed a missing report about Gabby September 11th. So since September 11th, this story has just fascinated so many people like myself, and they're about their relationship, what happened, his strange behavior. However, right away, he got a lawyer, and he was not talking to the police. Now, I can understand why. Anybody that follows true crime or any kind of Dateline, whatever, it's smart to get a lawyer right off the bat if your significant other goes missing. But what people didn't understand is why he wasn't just saying something through his attorney, like the attorney coming forward and going, they got in an argument on this day. This was the last time he saw her. She said she was going to get her own place and take my van, leave me alone. And he thought she was fine. But now that she's not responding to anybody, the last I saw her was in this location. Maybe go look for her. The fact that he didn't do that made everybody realize, well, why wouldn't you just share at least a little bit of a radius of where the last you saw her? Which made us think, yeah, he killed her and did something with her body or whatever. So they had not arrested him. They said he was a person of interest. He had this attorney. And then on, I think it was Friday night, is when people were standing outside of his house, which is his parents' house in Florida. And the police had taken the van, which was immaculately cleaned, and the FBI was now going into the house. So the news broke, oh my God, they're going into the house. So obviously they're either going to get some evidence or hopefully arrest him or whatever. No, they went there because the family of Brian contacted them and said to the FBI, it's Friday and we haven't seen or heard from Brian since Tuesday. So now we are reporting him as a missing person. So we don't know what information was gathered for them to then go to the Tetons and find this body, which has not been 100% confirmed as she, but I'm pretty certain that it is, unfortunately. Did the parents, was there a note that left that information for them to go find the body? Did the parents know that he was going off and kind of like turned their head and gave him a running start? What is the story? And there's so many different theories. And another horrible part about this crazy story is there was this couple, I believe they were married, lesbians, and they both were found shot multiple times at their campsite on August 13th. And because Brian and Gabby had a domestic argument in which the police were called, but no one was arrested, that happened the day before this couple was found murdered in this very close vicinity altogether. Now, everyone, police have said there's no way that Brian Lori, the boyfriend of Gabby, is anyway related, or Gabby's missing related to these two women being killed. But I don't believe that. I sometimes think that police put that out there just to keep the theory, like squash the theories, or try to keep these investigations clean. But it's very weird, and it seems strange, but there's no report that either Gabby or Brian had guns, were familiar with guns, were driving around with a gun, and these two women, unfortunately, were murdered with a gun. So nobody knows what happened to them. And, but it's just crazy. And, there's so many people kind of doing these like YouTube, van life, we're a cute couple. I mean, it's just terrifying for everybody involved. And, like I said, I went further in on my Patreon this weekend because the news was just so pressing. And so again, we do not know where Brian is at this time. We don't know who is the killer of Gabby or these two other women. And, this story is just, fascinating and scary and sad. But unfortunately, she has been found. But, thank God they have a little bit of closure. It's just you just wonder what the parents were thinking. Did he lie to them? Did he confess to them? There's a theory, there's all these different Facebook groups, and there's a post that someone sent me from another Facebook group that there's a theory that because their domestic argument fight, which was reported by the police and on body cam, was about her being upset, saying, I have OCD and I'm afraid that that Brian was going to leave me here. And that's why I leapt and tried to get into the car. And that's what the person witnessed and called the police. One of this crazy theories is, did she in fact come upon him talking to the two women, thinking that he was going to leave her, freak out, shoot the women, and then he, covered up for her? I do not believe that theory at all. That makes no sense. The other one is, did he accidentally, they got in another argument and he locked her out of the van, and did he accidentally run her over and then panic and try to hide the body and leave? Who knows? I mean, hopefully there's some type of information, some type of answer, which led to the police and the FBI finding Gabby's body. So our prayers are with her family, and we really hope that we find Brian too, and we also hope we find the killer of the couple, the two women that also died. I mean, it's just crazy because this area is so nice and everyone's all hippy dippy and give each other rides and help each other out. And just because someone appears a certain way, don't assume that they're safe, especially when you're out in the middle of nowhere. Also, big murder case going on, multiple murder of the Murdaugh murder family saga. Wow. This one, to give you a quick recap, a couple weeks ago, a 52-year-old mom and her 30-year-old son were found shot on their 1,700-acre property. Both shot dead, found by her husband and father of Paul, Alex, and he had a ironclad alibi. He was visiting his father in the hospital, who has since died. He then was found shot in the head, but survived. It was more like a grazing shot while he was fixing his tire on the side of a road. Turns out he has now admitted that he hired a man to kill him so that his son, the last remaining son, there are two sons, the son that's alive, would get $10 million in life insurance. He has turned himself in. Through his attorney. Yes, I hired this man. That man has also been arrested for insurance fraud and, these other counts of crimes that involved what they did. And he is out on bail, I guess, because he's currently in rehab, because the attorney also said he has had an opiate addiction for 20 years. With this family, there for generations, they've been prosecutors, which they call solicitors in that state, as well as having their own big law firm. And some of the information I studied over the weekend about this that I thought was really fascinating was the other murders that are involved in this, which is they had a housekeeper. Alex had a housekeeper that worked for their family for many years. I believe she was about 52. And she fell on their property down some stairs and died. Alex, I believe, was there. He said, that she tripped over the dogs. And they had a funeral. And according to the attorney that is now representing this housekeeper's 2 living sons, who are quite young, I think, or teenagers, according to him, Alex came to them at the funeral and said, listen, I'm going to be found responsible because it happened on my property. And this attorney is going to help you collect the insurance money from my homeowner's policy. The boys have now said that they have never seen a dime, but in fact, $4 million was paid out. So where did that $4 million go? Because it didn't go to her heirs who should have gotten it. So there's been a lot of misallocation of funds and stuff within Alex's law firm. Very, very shady situations like this. The son who was shot, Paul, also was driving a boat drunk and got in a horrible car accident, and many people were injured. And one girl by the last name of Beach was killed. He was facing charges on that. There's also a young man that was killed 3 years ago near their property, and there's ties to him that maybe Paul and the living brother had something to do with that awful murder. It's just an insane story, a lot to cover here. But I do think it's interesting that he's out on bail or going to rehab. Maybe they feel rehab is a safe place. But again, it's a judge that probably personally knows him. The other thing I thought was interesting that I read, it's some people didn't want to even have their businesses in this town because if something happened at their business, like a slip and fall at, let's just say, like a Wendy's restaurant, then everyone knew that, oh, well, his law firm that does like personal injuries and that kind of thing, they'll sue the Wendy's, and the judge would give so much money, award so much money to these victims, in which then, of course, he would get 40% of, that some businesses kind of got word, like, don't even have a franchise in this county because something's bound to happen and you're going to, get beyond screwed. So I think that really affected the town and its economy. It seemed like these people were like the richest people there, and the rest of the people, were kind of suffering at the hands of this powerhouse family. It's just an incredible story that keeps going on, and I will keep following. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills went down. It was Dorit's fashion show, but early in the episode, the thing that everybody's talking about is that they went over to Kathy Hilton's house, and Erica Jane sat with Kyle to just, and Kyle's like, so how do you feel about Sutton? Because Erica Jane is not happy with Sutton. And she goes, I really, what, Kyle, I don't care. I have a lot going on. Tom's house was broken into. He confronted the robbers. He had to get eye surgery. And then my son went over to check on him, and it was snowing, and his car rolled over 5 times. And so, yeah, you know what? I don't give 2 fucks about Sutton. All right. I really don't. So, yeah, I'm going through a lot. And Kyle's like, what? So Kyle tells Dorit. Dorit's like, what? Dorit and PK and Kyle and Mauricio all sit down for dinner to have the funniest, most real moment of not only the season, but I think maybe of all the housewives combined. So they start to tell Mauricio and PK this story. And Dorit's like, yes, and then he had to have eye surgery after he confronted the robbers. But it's just very confusing because her other story that involved Tom was that he also got in a car accident and fell out of the car, and his car flipped, much like the son's car, who flipped many times in the snow.
but he broken his shoulders but maybe his foot as well. And so we're not really sure if he had surgery ever on his brain, mind you, or not. And PK's like, what? And then she goes, well, what if when he came in from his first car accident, not the one that the son had, what if he came in and they looked at him and they said, let's not touch the brain right now. Let's just fix the ankle. And PK goes, he's an 89-year-old attorney. You really think they're going to be like, forget about the brain. Let's focus on the ankle. He's not a fucking soccer player. Mauricio has probably had a couple joints or whatever before, which we love, is laughing so hard. I mean, they both all start laughing. Social media has shown that Erica did not enjoy that scene. Someone, posted it to her and she was like, yeah, wow. Something like, can't believe they're laughing about something so serious. But it's just this crazy story. Since then, people have found that it was icy one day. If they chart back when this accident might have happened, how far out of LA did the son live? Did the son, in fact, get in a car accident? Well, the Sun newspaper interviewed a detective, and Reality Blurb summarized that article. And the detective said, yes, there was a reported break-in at Tom Girardi's house. He was asleep. He heard some rustling in the closet. He thought it was the stepson. He called out and the person left. He only said some cufflinks were missing. At that point, they just didn't pursue the case of the robbery. So that's why there was no real paperwork on it. And the detective also said, yes, I do remember hearing about Tom Girardi's stepson having a car accident at that same time. So it's not like her story is a lie. It's just that there's so many stories, and the way it's edited was pretty entertaining. And so, it's getting good. And then they filmed their reunion. And normally there's a theme to what they wear. They're told, okay, keep in this color theme, keep in this style. Potomac was all yellow for one of their reunions. Other ones were, some of the themes are more easy to follow than others, like all white or all metallics or whatever. I don't know if Real Housewives Beverly Hills, being that they're the top rated ones, they just were like, do whatever you want, ladies. Thank God for you, because, no one was watching New York, and New York is not having a reunion. They've officially announced that. I saw some report that now they are. No, I don't think they are having it. I just think they said, we ended on a high note, and because of scheduling conflicts, we're just getting forward and focusing on filming the next season of Real Housewives of New York and not going to rehash and have the reunion, in which some people were sad, some people were like, good riddance. I just found it sort of interesting. Other people thought they were protecting Ramona because a lot of her storyline was saying the wrong things in this, in this climate of being, politically correct or not, that she, being 63-year-old woman from New York would say the wrong thing, and Ebony would have to educate her. And it was just a lot. And I believe it was really how they were feeling at the time. But then when we watched it 6 or 7 months later, the majority of the audience did not enjoy rehashing those trying times that people had with social injustice. And so they think maybe we don't want to rehash it again in New York reunion, but are they protecting Ramona? I think they just were like, it was a shit season. It wasn't fun. We don't need it. But I've also heard it's a really big payday for these women, in which if they don't do it, they're docked a huge amount of money, which is why even when they have horrible seasons, they come. I think Lisa Vanderpump is the only one in the history, well, maybe not in the history, but one of the few people that did turn down the reunion and in fact miss out on a big paycheck. But my question is, do they still get paid? I don't think they do. So for them, I think that kind of sucks for them, because if they were counting on those checks, Sonia still can't sell her townhouse. It's been on the market. It's been off the market. It's been reduced. It's been this. So some of them have a lot of money, and a lot of them really, really depend on this income. So these outfits, which I have from All About the Truth Instagram,
It's their like photo before or after they started the reunion. Probably, I would always say take the photo before anyone's cried. I'm assuming you would take it before, while we still like each other. You know, the outfits make absolutely no sense. There's no theme to it. Dorit's the only smart one who's wearing her $35,000 pearl wedding gown from her line. Smart and looks beautiful. Erica's wearing some satiny pink thing. Lisa Rinna is wearing a velvet purple snakeskin looking dress. Crystal, the new girl, is wearing kind of a conservative tea-length burgundy dress. Kathy Hilton's wearing a red dress that really makes no sense. Sutton's wearing a short blue, like a Ramona dress from 2010 kind of a look. It's very Ramona from 2010, just strapless. And then Garcelle looks pretty, but she's wearing a metallic. Anyway, and then Kyle's wearing like a sexy little mini dress with cutouts in the chest. She looks like she's going to like, she looks like she's going to the Whiskey on Sunset in 1992 and is like ready to, have a ripping night out. None of it makes sense. So there you go. And I guess Camille Grammer, who's a former Real Housewife of Beverly Hills, she has been, she's the one that also posted this. And then I think All About the Truth caught up with it. So there you go. Let's talk about Real Housewives of Salt Lake. I almost feel like the only way these people are staying interested in the Real Housewives is when someone is facing major legal troubles. Erica Jane. Now we've got, Jen Shah. And Jen Shah, second season of Real Housewives of Salt Lake. She, unlike Erica, she's actually facing real time and retribution for a telemarketing scam that the government is investigating. A lot of people above and around her have already pled and are starting to do their time and already starting to have to pay retribution. Her trial is set for March 2022. I never liked her. I thought she was a fake phony. I didn't know that she was a criminal. I just thought she was like full of shit, like acting like, almost like Erica Jane, like with the glam squad and all these like, labely clothes and talking about her money all the time. And I just thought it almost felt like a parody of what, if you're going to do a movie about Real Housewives, you'd have a character like Jen Shah. It almost doesn't seem real because she's so ridiculous, screaming and being aggressive and freaking out over things that doesn't seem real. So you're like, is she doing this for the cameras? Anyway, we see second season and she's crying and everyone's mad at her because she called Heather Gay a manatee and the character of Shrek on social media. She denies it to Heather, her co-star, and was like, I have people that run my social media. Why can't you just believe me? Why do you have to believe other things? And Heather Gay is like, this is you. This is your check mark. What do you mean this isn't you? Also, Meredith, who talks like this and is originally from New York, she's very upset with Jen Shah because she has come after her child, Brooks, who is an aspiring fashion designer. He makes these suits with masking tapes with Brooks marks written on the outside of them. And he's never talked about his sexuality with us, but she is liking tweets that are homophobic. And I can't believe Jen Shah is doing this. And then there's some other people in the show, and I want to say the storylines are generic, repeated Real Housewives storyline. There is a very cute new woman. What's her storyline? You got a couple kids. The youngest is maybe like 8. Husband sits down on his first scene to say, I want to have more kids. I don't want to have more kids. I already got my tubes tied. I don't want to untie my tubes. Okay, I call bullshit. Tying your tubes is a pretty definite move. It's hard to do. It's way harder than a reversal of a vasectomy. So to me, I think they sat around and thought, what's going to be our storyline? Well, I guess I'm still young enough to get pregnant. I guess we could talk about that. You want more kids or you wish that we had more kids. Yeah, take it up a notch. Actually contemplate. You know who did this? Every other housewife that was young enough. Melissa and Joe Gorga had a whole storyline on Real Housewives of New Jersey. Do we want to have one more kid? Oh, shut up. So that's a boring storyline. We've seen it before. The other one is from Whitney Rose, who I really like. She's really funny. She had a hilarious scene where she was pretty drunk in her bikini with her stepsons, and the cake kept falling off, and she kept trying to pick it up. And she is pretty entertaining. And another storyline for every housewife is, I'm busy now. I have a job outside of the home. Also a Melissa and Joe Gorga storyline. I'm trying to launch this skincare line that's going to be hopefully one day worth $1 billion like Kylie Jenner. So I need you to pick up the slack and help pick up the kids because I'm so busy. I can't do it. Also, I'm still really horny, but our sex life has fallen off. And we used to do it every night, and now we do it every other night. So that's going to also be our storyline. We'll probably get in a bathtub together like Tamara and her husband, Eddie Judge. We're going to do some other sexy things. We're going to have the cameraman come in our bedroom and do some things that we will regret our rest of our lives, but we want to make the producers happy. And so that's going to be our storyline too, that we got to get our fuck on more often. Okay, great. Then, so it's those storylines. And then, of course, there's the cult leader, Mary, and she's just going to redo her house. Another storyline as her son lays there in the Gucci bedspread. But of course, my favorite storyline is let's reorganize my closet. And we go to Jen Shah's closet, the one who's looking at, prison time for this pyramid scheme where she would encourage senior citizens to sign up for this plan that then would make them have their own business. And then when they would not be able to do it because they're not tech savvy and they're out of all their money, then she would have another company under a different name contact those same victims and make them victims twice by saying, we can help you get out of this debt. Okay, so meanwhile, she's done this for years. So they go in the closet. She's got her first assistant there who is also turned on her. I don't know if he's pled yet, but he's still being featured in the show. 2 other guy assistants and her nephew. And we go through the clothes. So I had to screen grab the clothes. I had to count the shoes. All the shoes looked to be Louis Vuitton in and around or better, red soles. I zoomed in on them. I counted them. I counted up to 200 shoes. Okay, that's just myself. Because there's this one wall of shoes, and then there's a whole another wall of just nude shoes. And in that, there's about, 50 or 60 of those just nude shoes, and there's boots. So on the low side, even if you're to resell all these shoes, I'm guessing we're looking at $200,000 worth of shoes just in her closet alone. That doesn't count all the bags and the jewelry and everything else. Of course, she's wearing a Gucci jog suit. Everything's a label. So just fascinating. And I mean, we've seen previews coming up, and she's like, do I need to get Kim Kardashian on this? It's almost like, again, is this a joke or is this the greatest time of her life? Is she actually, I don't think she realizes the seriousness of it. And in the meantime, she is loving, I am more famous than ever. Erica Jane is way more famous now since this happened with her husband, Tom Girardi. Now everybody knows who Erica Jane is, not just our small world of Bravo fans. And so I think in the end, Erica Jane is going to stay on the show. And yeah, she's not going to have the access to the money that she did, but I predict she'll do just fine. And people will still follow her, and people will still hate watch it, and she'll still stay on the show because we'll want to see her date. Jen Shah, however, I definitely think will do some time. And by time, I mean more than 1 year like Teresa Giudice. I think she'll do at least 3. That is my prediction. At least 3 years, she'll be in prison. And who knows how Salt Lake will do without her. Because again, show is only juicy when someone's facing major criminal, legal crimes. Okay. Real Housewives of Potomac. That's pretty fun. Again, we've got some stale storylines. A little played out. Giselle's teaching her daughter how to drive. I can see that. I mean, I'm going through that right now too. And actually it was pretty funny. We've got the new girl. She's trying to make amends with her mother, and she's busy working role reversal. Then we've got Ashley, who has her second baby. She's wondering, how do I keep my 61-year-old ugly cheating husband in line? Because he's cheated twice on the show. That's been revealed through the show and social media that we know about 2 times, I think. One for sure. The other one was allegedly with someone else, and alleged things that he's been with girls and guys, and that's, but definitely there was one that he admitted to in which he ended up in a hotel room with a female. Okay, so she's got to keep that ugly thing in line. And also he is now at 61 going to get into making movies in which she could star in. Okay, some of these people just need to know, even though you're getting stopped on the street all the time, it doesn't mean that you're now Tom Cruise. Okay, then we've got Robin. Her storyline is she likes to sleep a lot and her husband's annoyed by it. And then we have the Grande Dame, who started a perfume line, and now she's got candles, and she has a 3-wick candle. These are called the Candle Wars, and she's acting supportive of Wendy, who was a political political commentator, but now she also wants to sell candles. And for as smart as she is, she hasn't thought anything about where she's going to sell these candles, who's going to package them for them, how they're going to get made, where she's going to, she just said, I want to be the next Black Martha Stewart. And Karen LaDame is like, or the Grande Dame is Karen. She's like, well, I'm already that, but I'll support you, child. Because my other storyline besides selling candles is the renewal, the big wedding renewal that's going to happen for our 25th wedding anniversary between she and her husband. So that's always fun to see. And they're acting like, she's a virgin getting married for the first time. But so what? I don't mind that storyline. And the final storyline is Candace. She's the Black Erica Jane. And she's not signed to any music label, but she's paying to have a music video and she's paying to have people be in it. And now her husband is working with her and he's her husband/manager, and they're not really getting along. And that's kind of interesting and juicy. The show is great. Everyone loves Potomac. It's really fun. I just like doing this kind of like, oh, we've seen this storyline before. How many storylines are there, though? Unless the storyline that hasn't been done? Erica Jane. Erica Jane's storyline has never been done. So I appreciate when there's real shit going on in your life, but it's hard to have, unless it's something pretty bad like a divorce or indictment. The rest of the stuff you got to say, got to spice up the sex life. I need more help at home. I'm starting my own business. My kid's learning how to drive. That type of stuff. So now I'm very excited, you guys. I'm coming this weekend to Philly at the City Winery. Still some tickets left. You go to heathermcdonald.net. And then the following weekend, I will be at the Irvine Improv, one of my favorite places to perform. 2 shows Friday, October 1st. 2 shows Saturday, October 2nd. That is with Justin Martindale. And then on October 3rd, this will be my only live Juicy Scoop I'm doing. That's where I have my live guests. And we do a version of this show live, so fun, answering questions. And I've got Justin Martindale, as well as one of your favorites, Spencer Pratt, and Vanderpump Rules, Lala Kent. And all of them are so outspoken. That's why it's going to be such a great live show. Make sure you get those tickets for that. That's Sunday, October 3rd. Everything is at heathermcdonald.net. And now for my very juicy interview about what really is behind some of these super successful social media women. Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I'm very excited to talk to a juicy delight that I've been following. She's known as Girl Gang 7733 on Instagram. I follow her on TikTok. Gigi, hello. Welcome to the show. Hi. So what I like about what you do, you do a little of everything, but the thing that really intrigues me that I've not seen anyone do is you introduce me to these social influencers, big $1 million followers, million followers on Instagram, and kind of expose just like how effed up it is and the hypocrisy and the roads that they take you down. So you get sucked into their world and then you buy their million swipe ups, which is a lot of untruth. So I want to just kind of go through some of your favorite finds and
Yeah.
let people know. And this is Gigi's opinion and what she's followed and what she thinks. And it's just an opinion of how someone runs their business. So who should we start with first, girl?
Oh my God, there's so many. I mean, we could start with Darylynn Denner. We just got done talking about her last week. So
Okay. Let's talk about her. Give a little synopsis of how she became social influencer famous on Instagram.
Sure. So she started back in 2012, I believe. She's a fashion influencer, just showing her outfits. And then she evolved into a mommy blogger. And last year during the pandemic, her and a few other influencers got together and they were doing giveaways like every week. And she grew from like 500,000 followers to now she's at 1 million followers. And she seems like that mom who is like, doesn't have it all together. You love to follow her. You feel like you have an inside look into her life. But if you really look under the covers, you're not really seeing much but ads coming from her. And she makes it seem like she's this like authentic person, but she steals content from other influencers.
Now, explain how she steals content.
So like when she's doing ads, like for example, there was like a clog product. Like if your kids threw something into the toilet, there's some type of product that the influencers were pushing. So Krista Horton had done this whole, looking like there was urine in the toilet and her son was standing over it. And then she took a picture of it and then did the product. And 20 hours later, Darylynn Denner did the same exact thing. Same exact shot.
So she took another social influencer's pee-filled toilet.
Yes,
and tried to claim it as her own children's pee.
Yes,
wow.
and
that's
took
pretty low.
The idea. Yeah, and she does it all the time with everything she does on her page. Nothing is authentic with her. And I started following her like a few months ago, and I'm like looking at her. I'm like, why is everyone obsessed with this person? Like, you're not really getting much from her. All you're getting is like chaos of ads being thrown at you, and her mom always in the shots. Like, it just was a weird dynamic. And then the whole thing blew up with COVID with her and her family.
Let's explain in a nutshell what happened, why she's in some controversy and some heat right now.
Yep. So she was supposed to go to Hawaii with her family back in August, and then they decided not to go. But because of like the COVID guidelines that Hawaii has in place, you have to test negative or be vaccinated, test negative within 72 hours. Well, we don't know what happened with the test, but we do know that they decided not to go because they couldn't pack in time, which I've never heard someone say give up a Hawaii trip because you haven't packed in time.
I know, it's just a couple bathing suits, flip-flop, and 2 cover-ups. I just came from Hawaii, and they are very strict. And one of the reasons they are so strict is because it's an island. And if they really had a huge outbreak, they don't have the ability. They only have so many hospitals and so many things that they could do on the island. So yes, you have to show your vaccine card. You have to actually do it like on an app before you go.
Yep.
So it's like before you even get on the plane, they know that you either have the clear test or the vaccine card that you've uploaded. Okay, so go on.
So she like comes onto her stories and says they're not going, all this. So then we're now up to like August 11th. And she comes onto her stories and said her mom has had COVID for the last 12 days. And you're like, wait, that timeline does not make sense. What is going on here? Then all these people start coming forward and saying that they were just with Darylynn and Lisa the day before because she said she had been diagnosed for the last 12 days. So why is she out in public looking like me greeting fans when her mom is positive with COVID? So her mom ends up in the hospital after all of this with COVID. And like, she's doing well, thank God. Like, I couldn't even imagine if that was like my mom. But then Darylynn took to her stories, like begging for the hospital's help to get her in because she couldn't go into the hospital because of the hospital regulations that they had in place. Like, no one could go in with COVID patients.
She couldn't escort her mom or visit her mom. So
Correct.
She was like, does anyone know who works at whatever hospital in LA? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is after she has been tracking all over California with no masks, like just doing her thing with her mom who's positive for COVID. I mean, wild to me. But then she, like after this, her mom gets out of the hospital and I'm like, I'm giving them grace. Like, let her deal with her mom. I'm not going at someone who just had like, I couldn't put myself in that situation. Scary. And I'm like, hopefully she'll apologize for what she has done and own up to her actions. Take accountability. No big deal. Move on. Well, she comes back on and like gaslights everyone. If you're not with me, like you're against me. If you either love me, and if you don't love me, I don't need you in my life. And it's like, just own up to that you messed up, that you guys made some wrong decisions. It's not like that hard. And it just goes back to this whole message that I portray on my platform is why is it so hard for these influencers to take accountability and just say, I'm shady, I'm trying to do better, and I'm going to try and be a better person. It's like, it's so hard for them.
Well, what I think is interesting when I was following your stuff and listening to your stuff is that, oh God, I just lost my train of thought. Well, what it kind of reminds me of when you talk about the bad apology and the bad is the Rachel Hollis, famous apology or not apology of where, she had the heavy brows. She had just gotten them. What do you call when you get your brows?
Microbladed.
Yeah, she just got them heavily microbladed, so they hadn't calmed down yet. And she's screaming into the thing like, I'm so irritated because someone wrote me and said I was privileged because I have a cleaning person. And, she's like, yeah, you know what? I do, because I work my ass off. I get up at 4 a.m. I'm so sick of people talking about getting up at 4 a.m. Maybe you go to bed at 9. That's an appropriate amount of sleep. Like, why do I care that you get up at 4? How are you getting up 4? What are you, a freaking Marine? Like, who cares?
They're all victims. They're all victims.
Yeah.
Like, well, with me.
Right. And, and then she also got accused of not being authentic because she sold these, packages and weekend packages of, relationship goals with she and her husband. And then it turns out they're getting divorced, which is, again, hey, it doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't mean, but then she goes and attacks her audience by saying, you don't get to see. You don't know me. You don't know my life. I show what I care to show, and the rest is not your business. But your whole business is, this is my life. This is every inner thought I've ever had. This is in my 12 books. This is my journal that you can have too. Just write your own thoughts in it and buy it at Target. This is, come to my seminar, see how my husband and I communicate. It really works out until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, leave me alone. It's just, I think if that, it's the same way I felt when Queen Latifah, and I was on her show, and I still don't know if she's officially out. Is she officially out as a lesbian?
I don't know. I've never seen her come out with it.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Maybe though. I don't
years
follow her,
ago,
though.
she put her female personal trainer on the title of her home, which I don't think a lot of people do, no matter how good the squats are. Okay. So anyway, she had a talk show, and I was on it as a guest, and she's like totally nice, and I can see why they chose her as a talk show host. But to be a successful talk show host, you follow the rules of Oprah, and you reveal, like, Oprah was like, I was, molested. I have a weight issue. I, suffer from this type of thing. Like, and it was amazing. And so then you have someone on, and she's not being authentic about her love life. It's the same thing. All social influencers podcasts, we're all like mini talk show hosts. And to be successful, you really, really have to be, oh shit. Hold on. Where the hell is my phone? Hold on. Sorry. Peter, do you know where my phone is? Oh, God. Sorry. Hold on. Mine is on. It's. I just want to tell you that it's on Do Not Disturb.
Just go back.
It's on Do Not Disturb.
No, you didn't.
It is. Oh, my God. I have evidence that it was on.
Your iPad on Do Not Disturb.
I did my phone, though. Okay.
Clap.
Okay. Anyway, so the whole thing is, you have to be authentic, and I like that you recognize the people that, are not being that way. So, this is what I remembered. I also noticed that you had mentioned that she did lose some followers. What's her name again? What's her first name?
Daryl
Ann did lose some followers, and then you recognize that it went back up to 1 million, and you were able to discover that they were bot followers. Explain that.
So there's a tool called socialblade.com that I have established and that I've been able to find that you can go on and track how people are getting their followers in each day if it's a public page. So I go on and I look up her page, and all of a sudden it's 33,000 new followers added on a Sunday. Like, that is unheard of for anybody. Like, regardless, she maybe daily averages 600 followers. So to go up to 33,000 in one day, and someone's like, well, maybe it's just a glitch. I'm like, it's not a glitch. She literally, because she wanted to stay above 1 million followers, because then that goes to her brand deals and like what she's getting paid at a certain amount. So she went ahead and did that. And I'm like, okay, this girl's not sorry for anything. Like, everyone needs to wake up and see that it's not about you. She doesn't love you. She loves the money that you're bringing her, because you think that she's like, you put her up on this pedestal. She's just like everyone else. And I think like a lot of people after my podcast were just like, wow, I did not see that.
I think the buying of bots or whatever it is just so interesting, because there's this girl that was like in our circle of friends, and then we kind of realized she was strange, and we kind of stopped like hanging out with her. But my friend like screen grabbed something that she posts on Instagram, and she's like, how the hell did she get 3,000 likes? No, it was like she got like 500 likes, but she only has like 4,000 followers. And I'm like, wow, I have 269,000 followers, and I average, not even 1%. I never have gotten 1% would be 26,000, right? Maybe my kid's graduation got close to 20. Like, nothing gets, and I don't have any bots, and if you're mean, you get blocked. So everybody that's following me is like a real person that still likes me. Okay. So, and they're still not even really liking my photos. So I'm like, wow, like, what is this? So then I just clicked on who's liking it. Couple normals. And then, wow, she knows so many people in small villages with, wow, what an international star this girl is, because everybody has, Arabic writing or Chinese writing or, just nobody. And all these people only seem to follow her. They don't post. It's like, it's just why I don't understand why people are bothering to do this. But it's like everybody, I think like every mom that doesn't have a job, or a job outside the home and doesn't want to do an MLM is suddenly like, well, all I have to do is have a certain number of followers, and now I can get ads and things, and I can do this, and I can become a YouTuber and a social media mom, and I can share my tricks. And I'm not like begrudging that, because it can really work, but it's just a tip to the people. It's got to be organic, and it may take a while. And that's my
exactly.
advice.
There was like a few weeks that I would do every Saturday. I would expose an influencer who was buying bots, because like a lot of these other influencers, it's like very like they like come at each other. So I have influencers in my DMs telling me like, go check this post. You're going to see the likes and the comments increase over the next few hours. So I remember there was this one influencer, I forget what her name is, but she was doing a Walmart ad, and it started out with like 72 likes. And then like I was screenshotting the time frames, and then I would go back and refresh it. And 15 minutes later, it was up to 1,100 likes. Then another 15 minutes, it was up to 2,000 likes. And I'm like, this is, and I was posting it and tagging her. I'm like, do you know, this is illegal what you're doing. Like, this is a paid ad that you're buying engagement for.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's another thing.
So what's going to happen to, what's her name? Deandra? What? The name is pretty great, but I can't remember it. What is her name?
Daryl Ann Denner. People call her Dad.
Okay. I'm sure she didn't come up with that herself. I'm sure everyone around the neighborhood called her that. So she's left LA. She's moved to Texas.
Yes.
Along with everyone else. And she's going to do her fun, cute thing. And does she have a modern day farmhouse? Is she going to, put some daisies in a mason jar? What's happening with her?
So now she's redoing her whole house. That's another thing too, is a lot of these influencers will capture what they're remaking at their homes or remodeling it, or when they're buying, because they use it for tax write-offs. It's content. That's another thing that they do, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's going through that. A lot of sponsors have dropped her. Okay. So she's like trying to revamp who she is. But right now she's pushing Target and I think Athena, the razor, at this moment. But a lot of she's going to have to change what she's doing, because a lot of people are now catching on. Like, they're like, oh my God, look, she said she's the only one that got this code, but 3 other influencers have it. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know what she's going to do because of who she is and how narcissistic she is. I'm assuming she's not going to change a thing. She's going to keep going on.
Okay, the other person you brought up to me, which I didn't know there was any controversy about her, but you found it, is former Bachelorette Ali Fedosky. And
Train wreck.
what is Allie's history? I don't even know what year was she on, and then what has been her career since, in a nutshell.
I think she was on early 2000s, and then she became an influencer right after that. So she is like...
She's the pioneer of the Bachelorette influencers, which I was hearing a lot of controversy. I'm not religiously watching Bachelor in Paradise right now, but there was a controversy on the last episode where two people, it was the hot Boston roofer, met a pretty girl named... Piper, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cute name. Anyway, they met in the Bachelor world and were dating. And then he came to Bachelor in Paradise. And then she came later. And he dumped the girl he was hanging out with for the first 3 weeks to be with her. And all the villagers got together. All the Bachelor and Bachelorettes got together and were like, they're going to make it to the end because they're already a couple when we're really here to find love. And they're doing this so they can stay on and get followers and have a social media platform. And they're like literally talking about it. Like the girl's like, I came here to get followers. Like as they're sitting on the couch, she's like, yeah, I'm staying here to get followers. But I mean, I was a marketing major. So, I mean, I'm sure I could just do it on my own. I'm like, oh, really? You think you can do it on your own versus being on the ABC top show with an incredible demographic of people that are interested in your look and fashion? You think, and then somebody posted like her face and they're like, the look you get when you realize you're no longer going to be able to sell like gummy hair vitamins.
Yes.
Anyway, the villagers came with their pitchforks and they said, you two just need to leave. And so they left in love and defeat. But you know what? They're not going to be canceled. If she's pretty and she's interesting, she'll be just fine, and people will still follow. Because now they're going to really get people following them because they're going to be like, are they really a couple? Are they going to get married? They got kicked off the island by the others that really do need the followers and the dick. And they're like, you got a penis already. Leave. What? Hello, wait, hi.
Exactly. And people hate follow, so they'll get a lot of that too.
Yeah, it's all going to work out. So, tell me about Allie. So, go ahead.
She is crazy. I totally forgot about her until someone brought her into my inbox and I started watching her stories and I was like, is this girl serious? Like all day she is slinging something like, I just got so many DMs asking me for this. Here's a code. And that's your typical lie. Nobody's DMing asking for this stuff. Like nobody. A lot of you have been asking me, that's the typical line of a lie.
Right. A lot of I'm just going to pop on here real quick. Pop on. And then so yeah, one thing that I always get asked about is the size of my pores. Oh,
exactly. And you're like, okay. So she just uses tragic things and sicknesses to reel in people to get them to buy products from her. It is the most bizarre thing I've ever witnessed.
Give an example.
Ever. Shingles. She just had shingles. She was filming herself at the hospital getting a shot. And then she comes back and she goes, I went through all the products that I'm using and my doctor gave me clearance to use my Dime Beauty product. So here's my code for 20% off. Swipe up. And I'm like, you were just complaining that your body can't move. And now you're pushing it
it would be different if she suffered from shingles and then said, I went through a few different products. And this shingle product to me, recovering from shingles, whatever, actually really works. Then I'd be like, now you've made lemonade out of lemons. You had shingles and you got to be a spokesperson for the shingles shot or the shingles whatever vaccine. Because I think there is a vaccine for shingles now.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, go for that. But then to go, well, I just recovered from a cold. And thank God my nose is not crusty at the ends anymore because now I can reapply my Yves Saint Laurent favorite ever foundation. It does not cling to the crustiness that happened at the end of my nose because I was blowing it too much. That's what you're talking about.
Literally. And then she's and my face just hurts so bad. So I forget what her husband's name is, but Kevin. She's like, Kevin was able to apply this all over my face because, my face is so dry from shingles, but swipe up for my fall favorites. And I'm like, what? What is happening? And then she does it again with Kevin. So she's queen of when she has a paid ad, she'll say, I can't get all the DMs. It's just too much going on. So just go comment on my post. and they're the paid ad posts. So like that's cheating the game too.
Right. She wants the comments there. Got it. That's
yeah.
You're actually giving a lot of tips.
I know. Well, I'll catch them. I will catch them. But she like, so Kevin got sick or something. And she's like, please just send me in my comments on this post, all your remedies so we can help Kevin. And I'm like, go to the doctor. Like what is, it's just so bizarre. And then she's in Facebook groups begging people to follow her so she can stay above 1 million followers. I don't know. It's just, I've never seen anything like it.
Well, I think there's been some awful things I've seen with, social influencers, which are also like YouTube stars and stuff, especially in the family, mommy, like, oh, this cute family we follow. And the worst one I saw, which was like, when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I got to get girl gangs on here because this is so up her alley. Like I can't even. And it was a 2Fab article about a mom, and she's doing a self video in her car with her son, who appears to be like 8 or 9. And she's like, we're just really sad because our dog Scruffy is probably not going to be with us any longer. And we just really appreciate the prayers. And she's, crying, and the kid's like, and then what she didn't realize, and thank God some sleuths caught it before she deleted it, is she kept the video running, and she did not edit it, and she posted it. And after that, she says to the boy, here, come here, like put your head on my shoulder and just act like you're crying. And the kid goes, but I am crying. I am sad about Scruffy. And she goes, I know, but like you need to cry more. I mean, you guys, I'm not exaggerating how bad this is. I'm not exaggerating.
No, it was sick.
If it was in a movie, you'd say they overdid it. Like you'd be like, this is too unbelievable. Then she's like, now scrunch your face. Just scrunch your face and put your hand over the face. And the kid does it. And I was like, yeah. And that's where I was like, oh my God. Cause I kind of discovered a couple years ago, like how by revealing something about yourself that's tragic can win you back the love that you may have lost, whether you're a big celebrity or a social influencer or whatever, that people love the crying and the sadness. And I mean, I didn't even realize it was, well, let's talk about this and then I'll write this down. Okay. Okay. Go. So tell me what you thought about that, what you've discovered. Okay. And what is her background? Like what's her following and all that?
She started, I think she had like, I want to say like 10 million followers. Her page is down now. She's gone off YouTube. She's gone.
How many subscribers did she have?
Millions. I have to go back and look, but it was like millions. But it's gone.
Now, do you think it's gone because YouTube says we can't have someone like you, or she just couldn't take it?
I think she couldn't take it.
Okay.
So what happened was after that video got uploaded, people flooded her Instagram, people flooded the YouTube, everyone was commenting. She came on and made a video. It's been since removed, but she came on and was like, I'm so sorry. Like, it just was like one of those things, we were very upset. We had a crazy day. We just found out our dog was like, might not make it through the night. And, it just was like a blooper. Like she was calling
so she's still in her apology. She's still trying to get the sympathy of, remember, my dog is still dying.
Yep. So she like goes on and on. And then she goes, I turned off comments, not because I can't handle the heat. It's just too many, guys. I can't get to all of them. So I'm just addressing you here. And then you're like, okay, no. So after that, the video gets deleted. She deletes her YouTube. I don't know if she's still on Instagram or not, but like insane. And this is like something that goes on in the family blogging world more than so often. And you just like, you think to yourself, what's going to happen to these kids when they grow up? Being like this all the time, it is like, it's frightening. I mean, same like this family and the LeBron family, very similar situations. They use tragedy to try and gain followers and revenue.
Explain the LeBron family.
Yeah. So the LeBron family is Cole and Savannah, and then they've got 3 kids. One kid, who is Cole's stepdaughter, but like they are sick. They are a sick family. I don't even know how they still have a channel, but they most recently used cancer, baited their followers with cancer, like thinking that the youngest daughter, Posey, had it. So they were like prepping up this video all week. Like, you need to come see this, blah, blah. Their thumbnail is them in the hospital bed, but not seeing who the child is. And it's saying she has cancer is the name of the video. And then you're thinking one of their kids has cancer.
Right.
So everyone is watching this video, and you don't know for the first 8 minutes that their daughter doesn't have cancer. They're like explaining what has.
So how does the first 8 minutes go? Like surmise.
So they like are talking through like the things that have been going on lately, and they have been kind of like stressed out. And Cole has been overthinking things. They've taken Posey because she's had leg cramping throughout the night for like a few months. So they went and got all these tests done, but like they're dragging it out. So you're like sitting here and you're like, okay, like, is she okay? Like, what's happening? And then they're like, she didn't have cancer. But then we took to Instagram and we did hashtag, I don't know, kids with cancer or something. And then we found all these stories of all these kids, and we were like, we need to do something to help. And this is where our project came out of. So it's like the story is just them helping a child who is suffering from cancer now, and how like they went through it to like be there for her and all this sense, but like the build up to it. And then Cole gets on his Instagram and he's like, I know everyone's really upset. We weren't trying to trick you guys to make you think that any of us had cancer. We're all healthy. But I really need you to go watch the video. It's a really important documentary. And I'm just like, these people are crazy. They've blocked me because I was like tagging him in my stories. I'm like, you are a narcissist and you're crazy. Like, wild. He's like gaslighting his followers.
I mean, that's worse than when someone posts something from littlethings.com where it's like a juicy story, but you have to go through 25 different pages to get to it. And then you're just like, forget it. Like anything I see from Little Things, I'm like, I'm not sharing, not posting, not going down that road, because 17 and a half minutes later, I don't really care. So, but this is so bad because, again, you're following this family like they're your neighbors, like you care about them. And of course, you're like, oh my God, the little girl has cancer. And what are they going to reveal? Was there something that they could have done sooner? When really she probably just had growing pains.
Exactly. And like before that, they acted as if they were a part of the wildfires in California and that they had to evacuate, and they weren't even anywhere near it. And they did a YouTube video with the thumbnail of them, fire behind them, and as a family evacuating. But no one, like the fires weren't even near their town.
Wow.
Yeah. It's sick.
Well, the fires are always near me, but they've never really been near me. I'm very, very fortunate where I live so far, and, never evacuated. Okay. And there was a comedian that lived very close to me, and I just saw that she posted, like, I'm not going to be able to come to Hokietown, USA, because, I have kids, and we've been evacuated in the fires, and it's just, And I was like, look, there's been times I've wanted to not get on the plane and go to Hokietown, USA too. But I've done it, and I certainly wouldn't say I've been evacuated when I haven't, because people get really worried. They don't know where whenever there's a fire, I get juicy scoopers that are like, oh, is Heather okay? And then someone writes back, I know exactly where she lives, and actually it's okay. She's about 2 off-ramps from where it is. And I'm like, I love that everyone cares, but it's true. They care. They literally care.
Exactly.
And that's why it's really rude to like make them worry about you so that they can be engaged or follow or watch your stupid thing. I think it's terrible.
Yep. It's horrible.
Yes. Okay. Who else do you want to share about? Anyone else?
The last one, I would say Amber Massey, because she's just such a controversy in the mommy blogger world. I mean, they're all mommies.
Okay.
But this one, she is like, I would call her a joker. She's just got 2 faces, and she was arrested back in May for family C violence in Texas. And she like did all she could to cover this up. But it's public information. And people are asking her questions. She's like the queen of deleting, blocking, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, all these people start coming out and saying that she's like straight up sociopath, like will threaten you to the point where you're silent because you're scared that she's going to come after you. But like what you see on camera, which is like this happy, beautiful family, is like not what she's like, a menace in her town. So it's like she's got like almost 1 million followers, and she's like hanging on by a thread too. She just bought 17,000 followers this week to say above 900,000.
Wow. I want to go back to about the kids, and it's just like, God, I mean, I joke about it in my act and stuff like, oh my God, you know, Instagram wasn't around when I gave birth. Imagine the free shit I could have gotten and what I could have pimped my babies out for. Like, you know, I in some ways I don't blame people for that. Like, you're a big influencer and, you know, have a baby line, whatever. I think that's fine. But it's more like when you're really using the kid, like acting wise, like that, making the kid cry. Or remember that really horrible story where they pranked the children?
That's the LeBron family, I think, who with the dog.
No, what was that story?
They said that they said to the one girl that they were going to take her puppy away because it like was not a good dog. And they put it on video of her hysterically crying. And then they said it was an April Fool's joke.
There was another one where the parents actually got in trouble for child abuse. And I don't know the family. They did pranks. And they were screaming at their kid saying, you did this, you did this. And the kid is hysterically crying, going, I did not do this. It was like the kid broke something. And they're accusing the kid of breaking something. To the point that he's like hysterically crying. And they're like, I mean, it was really offensive. And then they're like, just kidding, it's a prank. And thank God, like they literally had CPS call. And people were like, I just don't, you know, I think maybe even the kids were taken away for a little bit. Because it's like, Jesus, I just can't believe that people think it's like okay to do this and to put it out there. And I'm like, I cannot wait for the lawsuits to come of kids suing their parents from exploiting them when they didn't want to be exploited.
Exactly. It has to, because it's like you sit back and you watch these kids and it's like, do they really want to be on video right now? Like everything it's like their whole life is filmed, and I feel like they're too young to understand that. And it's like, who's really getting the money too? Are they putting it in these accounts for these children? But it's just like, I don't know what it's going to do to them growing up. It's like the child actors and where they are now.
And the child actors are screwed up, but at least with child actors, there is an amount of hours that they are allowed to work, which is why, you know, people like the twins do really well, because then you can have a child, you know, have them be twins, and then, you know, they can work longer. But they do get education. They do get a school. They do get a meal. They do. And then there are the laws where, you know, you can only take 10 or 15% as a parent from their actual paychecks. This is because it's in your home and it's video and everybody's doing it. You're making money. It'll be interesting when there's laws around it, and it's bound to happen pretty soon. I think in the next couple of years, it's going to be like, wait a minute, this is a whole industry. When I was speaking of Rachel Haas, I did not realize that. I remember seeing this thing that was just written, you know, a million articles written about it, because of course, like E! News and stuff just basically just follows people's Instagrams, Chrissy Teigen's, and just writes articles about it. And I guess it was she who did the photo of her in a bikini looking great, and then she was like, I'm going to just show you this me in my bikini. Yeah, I have stretch marks, but this body carried 3 babies. Wasn't that her that did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was.
And that's really what made her famous. Oh my God, it's so authentic. I don't care what you people say. This is my body. And everyone's like, who would ever say a mean thing about your body? So then I did something about like my wrinkly hands. And I'm like, yeah, these are my hands. These hands have actually held a Dr. Brown bottle, because I didn't breastfeed, to my kid's mouth. They wrote books. They typed emails. And someone's like, yeah, they're veiny, but I don't know why anyone would be mean. Only like 10% got that I was doing that weird humble brag thing. Like, no one's fucking criticizing my hands. Like, what are you talking about? And then there was that one about the ass. Some guy was like, no, it was about the guy saying like, yeah, this is my girl, and she's bigger than what I'd normally be attracted to. But she's my girlfriend, and she's great. And everyone's like, he literally was like giving himself a pat on the back.
Yeah,
I'm not with a size 4, guys. That's how open-minded I am. I was like, first of all, the girl's totally cute, and who are you? So then I did a photo. I have a really flat butt, which is completely not in right now. So I did a photo and I go, Peter, you're doing this with me. He's like, no, you know, and I'm like, look, I can make you do it because you're not my kid. So then he puts his arm around me and we're looking out at the pool, and I put on my bikini bottoms and I put like kind of baggy ones on there. So they like, my ass looked really like flat, not happening. And then I wrote it, from Peter. Like, yeah, this is my wife's ass. And I don't care what anyone says. Sometimes it's not a lot to grab onto. It maybe not be in, but this is the mother of my children. And like, again, like 80% of the people got it. 20% were like, maybe do some squats. Like, like
I was like crazy. That literally, when I like post off people, I like feel like I have to over explain because there is like that 20% that just don't get it, and I'm like,
yeah,
am I not doing a great delivery here? Or
that's why the comments sometimes are so great because then they know someone corrects them, and they go back and forth, and then it's just like it's pure comedy, like them engaging with each other, sometimes in a really funny way. I mean, it's amazing. Well, gosh, I'm glad that this is very interesting, and I enjoyed talking to you and getting to know you. And tell everybody where they can follow you and what you want them to know.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. It's girlgang7733, and then our podcast, which is Allegedly the Podcast, which we basically deep dive all these influencers. And then TikTok, it's girlgang773.
So I haven't. So I really appreciate that. You're great, and hope to see you in Chicago.
Yes, I am.
If you're available, I'd love to see you in Chicago. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, thank you so much. And as you guys know, go to heathermcdonald.net so you can join Patreon, listen to my juicy crimes, go to my live shows. It's all there at heathermcdonald.net.